Welcome, Dr. James Beckett, Sports Card Insights, 10 listener questions, the fourth time I've done that. You can look at the episode summary to see if it sounds like some of the questions and topics that you have interest in. I couldn't group all these because they're just different kinds of things. But thanks sponsors, Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentication, ComC.com, Burbank Sports Cards, Mike Stadium Sports Cards, now part of the Triple Family, Huggins Scott, now part of REA, Heritage Auctions, Topps, now owned by Fanatics, and Panini and Upper Deck. First question from Scott is Stuke. He talked about that not all fans will collect, mentioning that when he was in Little League, his mom helped him get into collecting. He was just getting in Little League, and he's saying that not all fans will collect, that maybe it's in the genes. And part of the genes is what you get from your parents. So he's almost 9 years old. He's going to the store to get some groceries, and she gives him an extra 10 cents. He saw a baseball on the counter, packs, bought a couple, took them home, and asked his dad about him. So when we're talking about the DNA of being a collector and the genes, my mom and dad that encourage collecting is a good thing. So thanks, Stukes, for that. Shout out to your mom and dad. Next from Beard on Me says, appreciated your post that I mentioned him. I guess I don't know that I mentioned him, but he said his wife was impressed that I'd never met them and pronounced their name right. And I just need to say that I have had a lot of practice because doing all the sports and all the books, all the price guides, Eastern European names and African names and Muslim names and Canadian names, Russian names, all those different things. I don't even remember other than I've had a lot of practice. Number 3 from Golden Slumber. He was addressing my putting Jerry Jones on my card wall. And he said, you may have convinced this lifelong Packer fan about the positive attributes of Jerry Jones. The positive attributes is that Jerry Jones 10x'd football, more than 10x'd his own investment. And so when we're enjoying football cards, Jerry Jones was a part of making football bigger than it was without him. I'm still steaming that he mentioned that he couldn't afford Derrick Henry. This is right after he made Dak the highest paid. So I do not agree with that, Jerry. But I'm not taking you off my wall. From Papa Jim, responding to when I mentioned why Jeff Wilson might have been able to secure not one, but 2 locations within the National. And he was saying, yeah, he took my point that some people have a lot of reach and have influence, and that influence has value, and it's a reasonable trade. So he's not at the back of the line. He moved to the front of the line. And still, there was consideration giving. Another one from Papa Jim says, he is like I am. I like to buy specific cards I'm looking for. When I see something I want to buy it, I know what the price is. He's one that does not pick up the Topps Now cards when they come out necessarily. If he misses, he'll wait and maybe find them for less. He might find them for less and he might not. And the other thing about going to eBay, if it's the actual card, you have no chance of getting one of the parallels, which is part of the allure of buying in the original thing. Next from Phil Sims, not the quarterback, spelling it differently. He mentioned when he was growing up in the 90s in Arizona, he collected baseball, hockey, and basketball in that order. And that's surprising, but he said hockey was very popular when it came to Arizona. The reason I started individual magazines is because I thought there was less overlap in the sports than other people thought. Yes, but there are people that collect more than one sport. My other point is there's always an order. It's not, hey, I collect basketball, football, baseball, hockey. Generally, there's an order to it. To quote Chris Sewell, that in that order is important. Okay, a couple of questions from the website mentioning my days at Bowling Green State University. One is from Jeffrey Kruger saying that he saw me on Family Feud, and so then he came to my office and he identifies the building where I had an office, introduced himself, and started talking cards. So he'd seen me on the TV show with my siblings. And he said, you offered me an opportunity to help proofread the first football price guide, for which you gave me some cards. In other words, it compensated. A lot of times when we were doing the card shop, as well as some of these things, we would pay people in collectibles or in cards. So I gave him some extra cards, which were probably of sufficient value to make him interested in helping me. He said he's looking forward to meeting again at the National. So thanks, Geoff. I do remember that. I do remember being on Family Feud. We won the first day and lost the second day. It's a whole another story. And that was in the late 70s. Okay, next one from another guy from Bowling Green mentioning, did I ever teach a summer math class to grade schoolers in the math sciences building? The answer to that is no, I did not. I think there was another guy there that was a collector. I didn't get to Bowling Green until 75, and he thinks that the course was around 1973. Well, I wasn't there, so I would have liked it. And I actually have done some of that stuff. I did some talented and gifted grade schoolers one summer, and that was a lot of fun. They were really sharp, and they had some interest in collecting. So you never know. What goes around comes around. But when you have these younger kids, I always want to help people to grow up to their full and best potential. Okay, another one. This is from Tyler. He said he's heard me say there's no wrong way to collect, but also you've said that all boxes should be opened. And if boxes were made to be opened, I'm saying, or he's saying that I'm saying that, he's saying I'm saying that it's amoral to not open them. But he collects unopened boxes. So how can you believe there's no wrong way to collect when you also believe that all unopened products should be opened? Since I collect unopened product, you must then believe I'm collecting wrong. Tyler, I don't think you're collecting wrong. I think if you're hoarding unopened boxes and never open them, I actually think that is wrong. But to me, that's not collecting. And I've never said that all boxes should be opened. I've said that almost all boxes should be opened. If the number of boxes being opened ever gets below 90%, in other words, if 10% are set aside, 5%, 10% is set aside, I have no problem with that. That's a level of speculation. But if 50% of boxes are not opened, that's messing with what was intended by the manufacturers. So no, I don't think you're crazy. I don't think you're wrong. A display of unopened packs, unopened boxes is beautiful. But a warehouse of unopened wax boxes, and where are your cards? I haven't opened any cards. To me, again, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying to me that's not collecting, but to each their own. Lastly, this is from, I'm just going to say Alex. He did not want me to use his full name, but it's Alex. So he was talking about when I mentioned, not whimsically and not facetiously, but uncrackable slabs, that there'd be some aspect of that would be good. So he's probably agreeing with me, but he's pointing out, as you might know, that if a grading company did have an uncrackable slab, that wouldn't get a lot of business because people want to have, and Alex points out, and I'm aware of this, I wanted to do an uncrackable slab for something that was bad, a card that ought to be torn up or ripped up because it's contraband. And so it's slabbing it in cement and sinking it to the bottom of the ocean. It's a counterfeit card. Otherwise, what you have is somebody shopping around a counterfeit or altered card. That's what I had in mind. But clearly, an owner of an item is not going to want a crackable slab because they lose the opportunity to get a second opinion, which is a right that we have. I think it's abused that people will keep going back many times to see if they can get a better and better grade. Or I've seen people resubmit when it was altered or not authentic. And actually, I had a card just last time, not this time, that came back authentic, and I do not agree. Now, it seems not fair if I take it to another grading company, another authenticator, that seems disloyal. And if I bring it back to my friends at Beckett Grading or Beckett Authentication, I'm not saying which one it was, then I'm giving them a vote of no confidence. What I'm trying to do is give myself a vote of confidence that I have no thought that this was an altered card or a bad autograph. But I'm going to take my lumps. The other thing Alex had, because he has a little bit of similar training to me, is he mentioned that if it's easy to resubmit, then cards eventually will appear to be overgraded. In other words, any undergraded card will be resubmitted. Any overgraded card will be left alone. Again, we're talking about perception. Any accurately graded card may still be resubmitted in hopes to get even a half point grade improvement, or through another grading company that puts less emphasis on 60/40 centering or some kind of very superficial surface, not scratch, but blemish. So, Alex, you're right. If the submission or resubmission cost is low versus the card value, then yes, you're going to have more. But that's revenue positive for PSA or BGS or SGC or any grading company. Benefits from some amount of subjectivity, grading consistency. In other words, you wouldn't resubmit to tag that's doing the machine and camera automated grading. You ought to get almost exactly the same thing, except for a speck of dust or something, if I'm to understand their process. And lastly, he was bidding on an expensive card. And I can't help you, Alex. I don't have personal knowledge other than it was the signed 33 Gaudy Babe Ruth. I'd love to have that card. That'd be cool. I'd love it if my dad had been an autograph collector plus a card collector, because he was around in 33 and would have been a boy of 8. And if he'd gone up to Babe Ruth, was a willing signer. So I don't know the pedigree of this. I will say this. More and more, the pedigree, the provenance of a card, if it's been in auction, in a public auction, it is known. I don't know whether that would have been meaningful to you if it had been my card or somebody else's card. I do think there's a short list of people in the hobby that if I got one of their cards, it was from their collection, it would go straight to my wall. So I think you're asking the right question, Alex. I just don't know the answer, but that's a stupendous card. And again, as I've talked about how to price more unique items, that card has a lot going for it. So thanks, everybody. And I'll be back again in a couple days, another episode.